He actually put up the first set of cameras on the outside of the buildings because they wanted to see the vandalism, whoever was doing bad things. But because of those cameras, that's where the news people and everybody got all the footage. Ta-da! You can say something.
Let me just start from the beginning of Ellicott City. Okay, my grandfather, John Baker, I don't know how many of you knew John Baker. He owned about 50 properties in Ellicott City, from Fells Lane that the county bought from him when it was, I don't know, designated as the littlest slum in America. He owned Mulligan's Hill. He owned the building next to down where Barry and Nancy are. Down across Baltimore County, there was a stone house duplex, then the little brick ones before you got 9 Mile Hill, and the stone one, and down on River Road. I don't know how many of you have ever cleaned out an outhouse, but he taught me how to clean one out. By digging a hole next to the outhouse. I said, what do you want me to do? He said, dig this hole 5 foot by 5 foot, 2 foot deep. And I, okay, now what do you want? Slide them boards up and break it out with a hoe. Put it down, it's good for 5 more years. So I had a lot of experiences, West End, and I ended up telling him one day, I'd like to buy a couple of these places. And about, I don't know, 2 years later, when I think I was 21 at the time, he said, come on. I was up painting a car in the backyard. We had a little body shop. He said, come on. I said, where are we going? We're going down to Malloy's office. I'm selling you those 2 properties. I didn't have enough money in the bank and this and stuff. I ended up owning the house on Marion Street and Frederick Road, which both were in both floods. And we had to gut the West End house. Lillian Shiflett lived there. She almost drowned in the 16 flood. She had to be rescued out at the South Rogers in Maine. And then Becky, right behind her, her car flooded out. She escaped the flood. So I spent a lot of time in Ellicott City with my grandfather from when I was about 6, taking me into Dee's Kitchen. Don't buy anything over $1 because they'll charge sales tax. I had to buy my hamburger, my fries, and it would be under $1. When they were tearing up Main Street back in probably '68, he owned Mulligan's Hill, but didn't have parking up there. So he paid the dump truck drivers who were hauling all of the debris off Main Street $1 a load to haul it up there and dump it. I was the guy with the digging bar and the shovel that spread the stuff out over the hill. If you go back there now, you'll still see these chunks of concrete there that I pushed over. And then I'd go play baseball at Wallace Park that night when I was 13. But yet, I learned to love Ellicott City. But what I really learned was after the 16 flood and started getting involved with helping people and cleaning out their properties. That's when I got to know everybody in Ellicott City. All these years I was here before, I had the properties, I came down, went to some of the restaurants, but after the 16 flood, and then the 18 flood, hey, we got better at cleaning up after doing the 18 flood. We knew what to do, the county was better. We organized cleanup groups, two bunches, so I worked on a lot of properties, all the way down to Joan Eves, to Georgia Grace, to John Fisher's building. I always remember the basement of that building was huge. It was filled up 9 feet high with inventory from E.C. Pops. It was the worst job I ever did in my life, working a month helping him clean the basement out. Half a bucket at a time. We had the inmates helping. There's nobody else. We had people come into town the first weekend cleaning up, volunteers. They thought it was fun. They never showed up again. And then we had inmates come down, and they worked, and they were great. I mean, they worked with John probably a month cleaning out, but it was nasty, smelly, and you'd run into a broken sewer pipe that you didn't know was there until a week after you were working.
Yeah, you also developed the alert system for the flooding, and you went to Washington, to Ben Collins' office, to present his. I'm telling you, the guy is amazing.
Yes, he is.
Well, that was just, we had the cameras on the Howard House in '16, and we captured the 2 hours of flood on Main Street, but I thought, well, we're not seeing really most of the floodwaters. That's behind the buildings and under the street. So then we developed a network from West End all the way down to the river, where we had cameras networked together, and 1 week before the 18 flood, we finished, and we caught the whole flood on footage, all 12 cameras, 4 hours of footage. It's on YouTube. You can go find it now. They'll all populate, and you can see the whole flood, start to finish. So, but then I thought, well, I need to be contacted some way, notified. I can't be up in Reisterstown or down at my farm in Virginia and the place is flooding. How am I gonna know? I can't hear the siren going off. I don't think you can hear it go off if we were right in this building here now. I don't know. So then I said to my friend Pete Greer, I said, oh, I need some way to be notified. He said, well, we can use the camera, I think, but we gotta be how to trigger it. I said, okay, I'm gonna go to Home Depot and get a sump pump switch and hang it out over the creek. And that's what I did, mounted it on a piece of angle iron. The one I put in 2018 is still hanging there today. And I tested it a couple weeks ago and it's still working. And it will send a text message out to everybody who has the app on their phone. And it did Memorial Day weekend when we almost flooded then. The county has it at OEM. They use it to look at all the cameras. And when that goes off, that's what I still say is what they trigger the siren with. They won't admit it, but I'm telling you, and actually the 27th, they were supposed to set their siren off, and something happened. The siren didn't work. So they had a new vendor come into town last week and redid all the sirens. And so, but no, the little sump pump we have at 3 locations now there. Court Avenue, West End, and behind John Fisher's old building. So it's, and that one went off the other week too. So they work, very simple, you know, but, you know, so we're constantly trying to improve that setup. But then, like Jim was saying, we use it for knucklehead stuff too. People stealing stuff, well, okay, let's track them, how'd they come into town, what car did they use, that kind of stuff. You know, a couple years ago, we had a guy who brought a girl in from Glen Burnie, 12 years old, took her back on the railroad tracks, took her out for 4 or 5 days, dropped her back off, and she remembered coming to Ellicott City. And I was contacted, can you find this car coming into Ellicott City? So we found it, and the guy ended up going to prison. So stuff like that is what it gets used for more than waiting for the next flood. So anyway, so that's kind of what I do.